Hi friends, pull up a yoga mat. We're working on a set or a kriya given to me by my Kundalini yoga teacher entitled Awakening to Your 10 Bodies. So if you've been practicing with me, some of this will be familiar. Most of yoga falls under the umbrella of hatha or hatha yoga. I find that this type of yoga, the Kundalini that we're doing, is often more aerobic and often focuses on breath of fire. I find it very energizing and cleansing, so you might want to have tissues nearby. Breath of fire is soft and fast. It's a gentle pump of the navel center, otherwise known as the belly button, pulling in and up. And on that pulling up, you're pressing the exhale through the nose. And so the inhale, it's almost as if the inhale automatically happens. And the way I know to compare this to the Sanskrit term Kapalabhati is the Kapalabhati breathing is more like a snap of your navel center toward your spine. It's sharp and it's slower in the way I was taught by my traditional teachers than the breath of fire. So let's practice breath of fire just so we know what we're referring to here. So I'll keep my hand here so you can kind of see what's going on. We'll find our inhale, find our exhale, find your inhale, and begin. It's fast. It's not a race. If you aren't going that quickly, no worries. It's a practice. It comes with time. My hand is not pressing my belly in. I just wanted you to see that that's what's going on in that area. So there's a lot of first, second, third chakra work going on. So we'll begin awakening to our 10 bodies, and I'll tell you a bit more about what all of that means as we move into our resting time. We're starting on our back supine. I like to begin with my knees bent, just to give everything a chance, a moment to balance out. And we'll inhale, bring hands overhead, and exhale, bring hands near hips, just to take a moment to be in touch with our breathing again. This time it's a slow, steady breath. And a breath that's more in touch with an extension and then a release. So if it makes more sense for you to simply start finding your breath before you even decide where your inhale needs to be or where your exhale needs to be, go with that. Finding our breathing is super important, right? And that's something yoga teaches me again and again. It's a practice, lifelong. And next time your hands come up and over, let's practice lifting head and heart with the hands and the arms. So we'll find our inhale as step 1. And then on step 2, we'll find our exhale and lift. And it's as if you're gazing toward your toes. Your palms start to face your side body, and you find your inhale and start breath of fire here. So that's our practice. We want your back to be down on the ground so that your back is supported and your front body is active. If you want to start this with your knees bent, please do. Maybe eventually you'll extend one leg. You could switch it up and add the other leg on. Eventually you'll do the inhale, find space. Exhale, press the back down as you lift head, heart, and legs. And find your inhale. and find your breath of fire. Releasing, finding, breathing. Giving the knees a good bend and hugging in to hold behind the upper legs, on top of the low legs, or you can give it a big squeeze in. Most of these exercises we're doing call for a continuation of 2 to 3 minutes. Sometimes it's a little bit different. I'll give you the heads up. I like to count my breathing. I like to do sets of 36, 72, or 108. You can see what works for you. Sometimes the Kundalini numbers are more focusing on 21 or 56. So see what works for you. Find your inhale. Find your exhale. Find your inhale. And begin breath of fire. Releasing, maybe giving yourself a little release, and then we'll find our way to rocking and rolling. Now for some of us, the rocking and rolling up and down the spine will feel just right. Others might need to add a blanket underneath them before they do so. You can even have a blanket underneath you for your whole practice. And or if it just makes more sense for you to rock over to one side and press yourself up to seat, that works as well. Taking your cross-legged position, this is called the ego eradicator. Your fingertips come to meet what some call the ridge of the palm. Your thumbs lift up. Your arms extend. Finding inhale. Finding exhale. Finding inhale. Breath of fire. Releasing. Finding breathing. And we'll move to a wide seat, or exaggerated seat as some call it. And you're always welcome to prop under your seat or under your knees. Sometimes it's helpful to give the knees a little bend. Sometimes it's helpful to boost the seat up. You could wrap your toes, point your toes. You could press through your heels. You could relax your feet. Finding space, I like to do the good old fingers interlace, palms to sky for a moment. And sometimes the directions are quite specific. This calls for the hands to move over the right leg first. You could find the floor, You could find your ankle, you could find your toes. There are no requirements here. And then you come up and we'll take it to the other side. And you find what works on each side. Finding inhale if possible on extension, exhale on release, finding breathing. If it makes sense for your nose to move closer to knees, so be it. If not, no worries. Coming center, releasing, finding your breathing. And eventually we move to the center forward fold stretch. So inhaling, finding space, exhaling, moving forward. Find where your hands feel comfortable for you. And then it's an inhale, lift, and exhale, release. As it suits you, find your breathing. Finding your breathing next time you come up. And we'll take it, we'll return to the cross-legged position where it's similar to a cat-cow that we might do in our table pose. And sometimes I switch whichever foot is typically in the front and switch it up and bring the other foot just because it's kind of nice and different for the knees and the hips. Sometimes it's not so nice and we have to choose wisely. Holding the ankle or the low leg in front of you, seeing if it makes sense to maybe bend the elbows and open up. So that's more of the, that's more of the cow spine, and then to extend and round a bit. So finding your breathing. Sometimes it's more of a powerful breath than the breath of fire. See which suits you. coming center. And we'll move, once we find our breathing, to a seat on the heels. So remember, when you're going up onto heels, if you want to place a block or a roll of towel or blanket between your feet under your seat, and add so you have a little more of a lift, that can be helpful to the knees and hips at times. And we go through phases, so see what works for you. And now it's a similar motion, but it feels a little different to me. So again, I'm going to do more of that cow spine. My elbows will bend a bit, and then I'll round into the cat spine. So it's like a slump, but a slump with purpose rather than a slump with a shiny thing in our hand. Finding our breathing and finding our pace. I say if you need to go slow and steady and that just feels better for you, I'm all right with that. If you were in a classical Kundalini yoga class, they might be quite adamant about how you practice. I think it's important for us each to practice the way it suits us. Finding your breathing. And maybe engaging that navel center a bit more. So it is that slump with purpose, where your belly button area is engaged. Coming center, finding your breathing. And we'll move to what's called twists. So I like to bring my arms out and then hands to the shoulders, 4 fingers in front and then thumbs behind. And on an inhale to one side, exhale to other if possible. Find your breathing and see how the twist feels for you. Sometimes it's lovely and other times we need to back off a bit. Coming center, finding your breathing, finding your inhale, finding your exhale. The next part is called wings, continuing to breathe. And we'll return to where we were, but then we'll add on. So arms extend, hands move to the shoulders. If possible, the thumbs are behind your shoulders a bit, And we're going to lift the elbows so that the backs of the wrist find each other, and then exhale, bring the elbows back down in line with the shoulders. And so I'll turn to help you see that, hopefully. When I first started doing this again, I realized my head was going way far forward and my neck was feeling stressed out. So just notice where your gaze is. It may feel natural at first to look down, but eventually you might want to maybe look down and forward, or look across from you, and see what works for you. It might change the more you do this. So if you can, it's an inhale, the elbows come up, and an exhale, the elbows come back down. So grow your wings. Releasing, finding your breathing. And we'll move on to part 10 of this exercise. You're more than halfway there. A kriya, a set, as opposed to a sequence or a vinyasa krama or a vinyasa flow. You can tell already it's quite different. Venus lock is when the fingers interlace and the thumb of one hand finds the in-between of index and thumb of other, and then this other thumb finds the Venus mound, is what this kind of fleshy area under the thumb is referred to on some of the so-called ancient maps of the hand. And of course we know Venus is the planet of love, and we have love in so many ways, shapes, and forms, and what the world needs now is love, sweet love. So let's muster that up with all the courage we possibly can. When we inhale, if possible, it's on extension. When we exhale, come down. And this always makes me giggle. As we were leaving one of the sets of my Kundalini studies, my classmates and I were charged with homework to incorporate right away, so that we could then, reply back to our teacher and let her know how things were going. And some of my classmates were traveling through airports and connecting flights and wondering how this would all go, things like this, while they were in the airport. So that gives me a little giggle. But I know more airports these days have meditation rooms and hopefully space for yoga. And I say, if we all could do a little more movement and breath work, the world would be a much better place. So give it a go and find your breathing. releasing, finding breathing. And moving to your cross-legged position once again, where we'll move into the alternate shoulder shrugs and then shoulder shrugs. Starting with the left side if possible, left shoulder's going up and then right shoulder follows. And you guessed it, we're moving with our breathing and we're breathing with our moving. Releasing, finding breathing. And as you're ready, maybe taking hold of knees, and this time both shoulders go up and then release. Now, sometimes depending on how tight I am feeling in the shoulder and neck area, I choose to do the shoulder rolls rather than the lifting and lowering. I like to offer options. Not everybody will do that. I think it's important for us to begin to listen a little more to this body's requests, finding your breathing, finding shoulder shrugs. And you'll see sometimes you'll want to focus on both the inhale and the exhale for the powerful breathing. And sometimes you may just want to focus on the exhale and let the inhale follow along. So you're not holding your breath. Releasing, finding breathing. Moving to our head turns, starting with the left ear moving a bit toward left shoulder, head gently moving forward now. Right ear moving toward right shoulder, head coming back and around. Now, if you're having a moment where your neck is just not having this, you don't have to do it. It is part of the set, but sometimes our necks can be really tender and we need to do what works for us. Slow and steady with this one. Finding your breathing. If you can, it's an inhale, ear towards shoulder. Exhale, head over to the other side. And next time you circle around, returning center, switching the direction of the circle. Right ear toward right shoulder, so I'll look opposite you, and then head coming forward and making its way to the other side. Finding your way around slow and steady. If you can, inhaling right ear toward right shoulder, and then exhaling head over to the other side. And next time you circle around, returning to center. And we've made it to the final part of this Kriya or set. It's called frog pose. And we will come to a squat with the heels up. So if the floor feels far away and you want to grab your block, and you remember, of course, your block has different levels. I wouldn't choose the level that feels wobbly. I'd choose the level that feels sturdier and add another block if you need to go higher. We've also used a chair in the studio this week so that we had the chair on the mat so it wouldn't go sliding, and then our hands were on the base, the seat of the chair, so that those of us who were practicing squats and didn't want to come down to this full squat position had a higher up option. But we're each different with our knees and hips, so see what makes sense for you. And with your heels up, your heels actually touch underneath you. If possible, your toes are a little out on a diagonal and apart. And I'll change positions so you can see what I'm up to. And then your hands settle down in between your knees on the mat or wherever you're choosing to place them. And we inhale, extend the legs, head moves towards your body, and you might bring your nose closer to your knees here. And then exhale, bend, gazing forward. So it's inhale, extend. Heels are still up. They go down a little further, but they're still lifted off the floor. And then exhale, bend. So let's see how it goes. If I go like this, I think you can see that my heels are together and my toes are apart, and you'll find your breathing here. Finding your breathing, releasing. And this is the part that is super different in Kundalini yoga compared to the vinyasa krama that I practice. That has more maybe of a flow, and sometimes where we stay in the postures and we work on our slow, steady breath. We move into rest. And it's kind of interesting and exhilarating to feel your heart pumping and your blood flowing, and then poof, you move into rest in the middle of all of that sensation. So in my experience of my classical teachers, we didn't have a lot of props, but we're modern yogis. So if you feel like you want or need to prop something, please take a moment to figure that out. You can always add a blanket. Having warmth is important, especially as we grow still and the body temperature may change. I'm going to read a little bit as I catch my breath about the ideas behind what we just practiced here while you rest. So if you'd rather rest with your music, you can of course press the pause button and tune in after to hear about the 10 energy bodies according to my teacher, Shakta Lena, who received the information from her teacher, who was from northern India. So continue with your rest, and I'm going to read a bit about the 10 energy bodies, and then after that I'll guide you through a bit of a return. So the 10 bodies and how they function. The first body, the soul, relates to the first chakra, the root chakra. It is the infinite light that lives within you and is your very best friend. And each of these comes with a challenge. So the challenge here is to balance the head and the heart. The second body, the mental negative, relates to the second chakra. The chakras we often refer to in yoga, running up and down the spine, front and back, energy centers, turning wheels of energies. If you look in the anatomy and physiology book, you'll see that they line up directly with the major glands, organs, glands mostly in the body. So maybe just a different way to approach that idea. The mental negative, or the second body, relates to the second chakra. The negative mind protects you by revealing the danger or loss in any situation. It gives you the gifts of containment and discernment. The challenge is the tendency to see things in a negative light. The third body, the mental positive, relates to the navel center. The positive mind inspires you by telling you what the possible gain is in any situation. The challenge is a tendency toward idealism, or can succumb to the negative mind. The fourth body, the mental neutral, relates to the heart center. The neutral mind listens to both the negative and positive minds and then leads you to the best decision. The challenge is the tendency toward indecision or difficulty perceiving the larger picture. And what I so appreciate about this all written out here is that when I read this, this book was written years ago for all of us who are interested and inclined to practice this way, is that we're not alone in our efforts, in our struggles, in our celebrations. So the fifth body, the physical, relates to the throat chakra. And it's your physical body where the other light bodies play out their parts. It is the teacher, the one who can take the abstract and make it concrete and practical. The challenge is for the fifth body, the inner and outer realities could tend to be out of balance. The sixth body, the arc line, a ribbon of energy that arcs from earlobe to earlobe, a halo. It gives the ability to focus, to meditate, and to manifest projected thoughts and desires. The challenge, or we might say the weakness, shows up in difficulties in meditating, focusing, and using the intuition. It's a practice. The seventh body, the aura, the sphere of electromagnetic energy. So we're living beings, creatures. Living beings, creatures, earth have electromagnetic fields. We can look this up if we like to read about the proof of it all. So this energy surrounds our physical body and can extend up to 9 feet in every direction. When the aura is strong, no disease, including negativity from others, can penetrate, and that person is completely confident and secure. The challenge is the tendency to feel easily overwhelmed by outside influence or to be an energy drain on others. The eighth body, the pranic, controls the breath and takes in prana, the life force energy of the universe. When the pranic body is working, we are fearless and fully alive. Our pranic energy heals others. The challenge is the tendency to feel fearful, exhibit defensive behavior when weak, or to feel sluggish and fatigued. The ninth body, the subtle, carries the soul when it leaves the body. When the subtle body is strong, you see beyond the obvious, and nothing in life is a mystery. It gives you great finesse and a powerful calmness. Challenge: when the subtle body is weak, a person may be naive and easily fooled, and unintentionally crude or unrefined in speech and behavior. 10th body, the radiant, a glorious radiant sphere of light that gives you spiritual royalty and grace. You exert a magnetic presence that can heal others, even at a distance. Challenge: a tendency toward fear of conflict and ineffectiveness in life. The command center, the center from which you direct the play of the 10 bodies. From here, you master all 10 bodies and can use them as needed to excel in your own life and to help uplift others. From your place of rest and relaxation, we'll gently begin to return with some movement, maybe some extension, maybe some rounding, some wiggling, some yawning, excuse me. And as you wish, we'll bend the knees so that the soles of feet can come together and actually rub together, and palms of hands rub together. And it's said that we're awakening thousands of nerve endings. I think I read somewhere like 72,000. That's beyond incredible. Our bodies are beyond incredible. And then resting the feet and gently cupping the hands over the eyes to give your eyes some of that good warmth. And bringing one leg long as you're ready for a cat stretch, as they call it in Kundalini yoga. You might guide one bent knee across the midline. You're welcome to hold that knee. You're welcome to prop under the knee. My bent knee foot tends to rest on the long leg. Other people like that foot in front or up on the prop with the leg in front. You'll see. And then you could work once your low body is settled, you could work on maybe releasing your shoulders a bit and finding where your head and your neck might like to be. Returning center. When you're ready, we'll switch sides. Other leg extends, other leg bends. Crossing the midline is always good work for the brain and the connections in the brain. It's believed that when we cross the midline, we are actually making new connections in the brain, and that's really good news for all of us. And then when you feel complete, coming center, and we'll do again some rocking and rolling. So the directions say 7 to 8 times if you can. If rocking and rolling forward and back isn't for you, rock to the side and press your way up to your seat. Coming up to your seat, taking what some call Zen Mudra, the hand you use the least can rest inside the hand you use the most, and the thumb tips touch. Receiving all of that delightful energy you've just created for yourself and therefore for others. It does have the ripple effect. I'll leave you with a bit more from my teacher's teacher. One of their quotes is, "You are a human being. Hu means halo, light. Man means mind, mental. Being means now. If you understand that you are 10 bodies and you are aware of those 10 bodies and you keep them in balance, the whole universe will be in balance with you." Bringing your palms together for Anjali Mudra, the heart-centered mudra. Brain balancing gesture. And closing with Mira Mudra. Pinky finger and thumb meet on each hand, and then those tips come together. Traditional ring fingertips come together. Middle finger and index finger stay apart. This is the gesture of the ocean, and it inspires and encourages the respiratory system and good, healthy breathing. Thank you for sharing your practice with me. Peaceful autumn or fall wishes to you and me and we and us. These videos were sponsored by someone coming in for a yoga